Hey guys, I'm back. This is Ron, Liquidity Cartel. And one video that I thought was important to make prior to going down the litany of items that we cover in our book is some of the underlying rationale of why we built this system. I didn't build order flow. I didn't build auction theory. I just studied it and found it to be very valuable. I think it's extremely valuable. But what I found to be the most valuable was the ability to identify who you are as a trader. And for those of us that are in our Discord or in our mentorship, they understand this if they've either read the book or they've listened to me talk every day. But for those of you that are watching this outside of here, there's value in identifying why what you're doing in your back testing. You can go and back test, and I subscribe to this theory incredibly. You know, whether it's Dr. Paul or Larry Williams, Richard Dennis, any of the great traders that I really looked at and said, what created longevity with them? There's so many people out there with these really high intense emotional scalping, and they have these perfect entries or exits or non-perfect entries or exits. And everyone says, well, you just must have to master your psychology. And then they just leave it at that. There's no focus on the ideation that I would challenge anyone, and I know I might ruffle a lot of feathers here. You can have the best entries and exits in the world. You can say, well, just do it. I want to see you go do it. I've been there. I've traded for years. You must master yourself first. You have to understand before you come to the charts, before you sit down at the terminal, before you open it up, before New York opens or London opens or Asia opens, you have to identify that you have, and I use this term very generously, certain tics, certain psychological things that prevent you from taking all of those hours that you've spent in back testing, identifying the edge, identifying the win rate, the Sharpe ratio in back testing. And then you've gone forward to your sim accounts and you've done it and you've executed beautifully. And then all of a sudden you come to real money. Whether you guys trade your cash accounts, which I believe in, or you trade prop firms, which I think provide great leverage for a lot of folks. You don't understand why your back testing and your sim trading have no relative relation to what you do in real time. And that's something that I focused an entire volume of a book we wrote about. You know, and we identified 6 different what I call archetypes. And you've probably heard archetypes and other, like identifying human behavior, and identifying human behavior is tied intimately with your trading performance. Period, hard stop. I don't think you can separate your personal life, your personal behavior, your ideations, and how you think and how you function from how you trade. I don't believe it can be done. I believe that in the end, to be successful, you have to identify certain emotional conditions that come up while you trade and have the discipline and ability, which is learned, which can be taught. You have the ability to separate that emotion from your trade plan. That takes practice, that takes discipline. It's not something you just go out and do. It's like telling a professional NFL quarterback to just go out and throw the same passes and run the same plays that they do in practice while they have a 3,000-pound line running at them. It's like going to batting cages and hitting softballs at 30 or 40 miles an hour and then standing in front of a pitcher that throws one at you at 90 and saying, just hit it. It doesn't work that way. And I know I will get some pushback from some people say, yeah, it doesn't. And if you go back and look at traders that were very successful all the way back from, you know, whether it's Jesse Livermore or you know, Wyckoff's theory on auctions, and he has a great dissertation, and his first books that he wrote were widely discredited, and then they came back and go, the guy was right. To Larry Williams, Mark Douglas, all of them, these guys, the longevity they attribute. Liz Cheval, who was one of the original turtles under Richard Dennis, they attribute to discipline and being able to identify that, oh, shit, I'm in a bad spot. This is very stressful. I'm in a drawdown, but I'm managing to separate my emotional connection from my trade plan. Because guys, that trade plan is what you did in your back testing. That's the stuff that you went out and you said, oh, I can do this. I did this 100 trades, 1,000 trades, 10,000 trades. And then I go in real time and I fall apart. That's a part of this trader archetype. Like the first one, I'm going to go through them real quick here. I'm going to go through as quick as I can. You know, we do a deep dive in this. Our book did a deep dive in this, and we address this every day in our pre-market narrative. Before you come to the charts, sit and understand, well, who am I? Because I guarantee, I absolutely, the only thing I'll guarantee, it's like the death and taxes statement, right? You're one of these 6 types. You know, the hesitator. Are you waiting for confirmation? Are you waiting for that A+ trade, the A+++ trade? One thing I'll guarantee in the markets, there's no guarantees. You're going to lose trades. If you're a hesitator and you see, hey, I back tested this and I did this and I lost here, you're going to lose statistically a certain percentage of the time. Whatever your back tested percentages are and where you're willing to accept, you're going to. And then there's the folks that chase it, right? They're going to chase the trade. I missed this trade, or this could be a good trade, and they continually chase trades. I promise you, if you're not getting in, and you know, we teach this, and I've identified this myself personally, and my wife, which I trade with, that there's going to be times that you see a trade, it forms, and you hesitate, and then it moves away without you, and you chase it. That opportunity's gone. The discipline exists when you realize you didn't miss anything. It's just, okay, I missed it. And then there's the folks that the overtraders, right? The overtraders are those that I did really good market opening range, 9:30 to 10 Eastern Standard Time, New York and NQ open. Or if you trade ES, or you trade gold, or you trade energy complexes, or the food complexes, whatever you do trade stocks. And you understand that, you know, I did really good here, but I didn't do good enough, and you're going to continue to I just want a little more. I hit my goal, but I want more. Or I'm in drawdown. I hit my maximum daily loss. And you think, if I just trade, I can get it back, right? You know, that again, it's the same thing. You manufacture setups. Guys, you sit too long at the charts, and I have personal friends, dear friends, that sit all day at the charts, and they have the capability to do that. And I call them, they're like the Dalai Lama on the mountains. That's not me. And if that's not you, and you're getting over trading, and I'm sure this will identify with a lot of you when you hear this, it just chops my account. I may not hit my goals, but gosh, I sit there for the next hour, 2 hours, 3 hours in the midday chop, and I just get destroyed. And then there's the predictors, right? If you predict, I am an absolute advocate of creating a market of narrative prior to the market opening. We teach that. I've taught that. I do it. I do it every single day live, every day live. I spend a solid 20 minutes going through a market narrative on open. And I try to teach our students and the people that we work with that at least have an ideation of where you think the market may go. And it's not just a wild throwing a dart at the dartboard. It's I'm using statistical analysis of previous market performance to determine where this market may be headed. Whether it's volume profile analysis, VWAP, larger high time frame scaling of potential retracements of legs. But then the idea is not to predict and say, this is where it's going and get married to a bias, because I promise you, if you get married to a bias and it turns, that's when you start saying, you get chopped, and you've heard that analogy of catching falling knives. No, it's going to turn around here. It's going to turn around here. It's going to go back up here. It's going to go back up here. How many times have you guys done that? I've done it. I've been there. Your job in the marketplace is to be ambiguous. You want to follow what the market gives you. If the market is showing you, you know, before the market open, you go, I know it's going to go exactly right here. This is where it's going to go. And when it doesn't do that, rather than abandon the ability to abandon the bias, because the market is always right, guys. I promise you, the market's never wrong. The market's never going to back up as it moves west to east during the timeline and says, whoa, let's go back because I was wrong. Let's go replay that according to your bias. And that's what happens when you start predicting markets. Are there people that can predict markets? Great, that's fine. That's not what I do. That's not what we do. I do believe that trying to predict a market and continually forcing your bias onto a marketplace can deplete your emotional P&L much faster than it will deplete your financial P&L, and it will deplete both. And then there's the revenge trader, right? Revenge trader are those that, okay, I've lost. You know, I knew my maximum daily loss was, you know, 500 or 1,000, or whatever your maximum daily loss per account is. And that's individualistic compared to on what your risk management is, what your trade plan is. And instead of stopping there, you can, I can get it back, I can make it back. That's a gambling mentality. That is what casinos live for. That is what the markets live for on the retail side. That is not how professionals operate. You know, you understand that some days you'll be on the wrong side of the market. Everybody is, myself included, my kill zone included, my wife, everybody. For those that say I have every single day is green, all day, I never am wrong, that's just, if you are, you should be managing hedge funds. I can turn you on to some people that can get you hired. But that's not real. You know, and then the last one is the fear-based. And the fear-based trader is almost the worst because oftentimes the fear-based trader is the most accurate of all the 6 archetypes. They understand market narrative. They understand where and when they should be in the marketplace. They understand risk management. They understand trade management. But fear has gripped them so much, this fear of potentially losing, whether it's ego-driven, and oftentimes it's ego-driven, where I don't want to lose, because they have tied their persona so intimately to whether they win or lose that it becomes a detriment to their success. I always say, when we're live trading and I lose a trade, I said, well, what we just experienced is statistical probability in real time. Because if you go back and you look at your back testing, you're going to have a statistical probability of wins, right? And then I always fold that in with, as you go forward, you're going to have the psychologic hesitation or the psychologic jump, whether it be FOMO, entering too soon, entering too late. You're going to have some statistical probabilities that you're going to be less than your back testing. But if you're just completely fear-based and gripped on the ideation that I must be right and I can't be wrong, that will destroy your accounts and it will destroy your psychological P&L faster than anything else. So what I ask of you is to take a look at this. I didn't show you any indicators. I didn't show you any entrances. I didn't show you how you enter, how you manage trades, how you find exits. RR, sharp ratios, none of that. I think that this is penultimately more important because you can have, I can hand someone the absolute best and highest win rate setups and watch them fail over and over and over again. I've done it in real time. I've taught and closed courses for a long time. This is the first time I've really opened up to have folks that I didn't know that weren't referred directly to us to teach. And the first steps is you must manage yourself as a trader. The inability to manage yourself as a trader will lead to a never-ending cycle of boom and bust. You may do well for a while, then not understanding why you blow accounts. Not understanding why you continually can't find a sharp ratio or an equity curve that's smooth. And guys, go back and look and listen to some of the old, I call them old timers, and that's the wrong statement. The folks that have been around, that have been trading for a very long period of time with high levels of success. You know, I tried to manage this, my wife and I tried to manage and construct this very similar to how Richard Dennis taught the original Turtles. Because that is, and you'll hear me refer to that on a regular basis because it was motivational and frustration at the same time. How he took the average folks, whether they be school teachers or clerks or police officers or unemployed housewives, and if you've not read the book, I highly recommend you read it. It's Turtle Traders. Not to give Michael Covell props, but he's a great author and I like him a lot. He did a great job in it. It's a real story. Identify who you are prior to coming to the marketplace, because I promise you, if you can't identify, look at, see where you're at emotionally, and be able to attach and still execute your risk model and your risk and trade plan, you're never going to be successful in the marketplace. So, I just want to take a few minutes to get on here because I found this to be very important, and it's a critical component in my perspective for having not only long-term success. And the last thing I'll leave you with is you've got 2 different P&Ls. You've got the P&L that you see every single day in your AMP account or whatever, if you use prop firms or Trade-of-8 or whatever you may use, Rhythmic, and you see this is my P&L. This is how much I made or lost for the day. And then you've got another P&L that lives psychologically inside of you. If you happen to get on the side of a trade that you weren't supposed to be in and it was a success and made a lot of money, your P&L may reflect very positively in deep green, but your P&L psychologically is deep red. You had no idea why you made it. You know, my wife and I, as we trade, we call it good money and bad money. Sometimes you get on the right side of a trade for the wrong reason and you make bad money. We advocate the use of being on the right side. Even if I'm red, slightly red for the day, I want to make sure that I executed my process, because all that time and hours and energy you spent doing the back testing needs to translate forward. And even I would aspire to say that on the days that you hit your maximum daily loss limit and you go back and you journal and you see every single one of the trades that you made for that day followed your trade plan to a T, and you just happen to experience statistical probability in real time, that you can walk away from the computer, the terminal, and go, yeah, today was not my day. And on the days that you execute your trade plan and trade management perfectly and you have a deep green day, you can have the same psychological feeling as you had on that red day. Guys, this is the key to success. This is what everyone says, you must master your psychology. I hear this constantly, and it was the impetus for us creating this program. I hear it, but I never really see how people are putting this to work in real time. That's what we do. Liquidity Cartel, we look for that. So appreciate your time, guys, and stopping by. If you have any commentary on it, please drop it down below. And this is your homework assignment, is go back and identify where you're at. And these archetypes that you find yourself in, hesitator, chaser, overtrader, predictor, revenge trader, fear-based trader, these can all be overcome. These are all emotions that every single one of us, every single trader that's ever traded the marketplace feels. I promise you, there's not a single person on there that is completely dissociated from the emotional connection between how they feel in a trade, how they feel about trading, and how they trade. The key is to identify it and be able to detach from it and move forward successfully. So have a great day, guys. It was good talking to you. We'll talk to you soon.